What a good-looking room. Not that you're biased at all, right? Yes, sir.
That same technique will work with emotions also?
I need more information. I'm going to say no off the bat, but if you clarify, I might give you the answer. No. No, I would not use this for emotional release or emotional change. I use this specifically for motivating you to take action. It has a very, very specific purpose. Okay? If you want to change emotions, who wants to feel good for no friggin' reason? Come on up here. You mean you can't feel good for no reason?
No, we're just laughing at this.
Say it again. Jose, were you ever a kid?
Yes.
Did you ever play pretend?
Yes.
All right. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to close your eyes. And what I want you to do right now is I want you to, and you don't have to tell me anything about this other than very specific pieces I'm going to ask you here and there. So, because it's private, I'll never know what the actual event is. You can make it as juicy and as joyful and as pleasurable as you want. Would that be okay?
Okay.
You good with that?
Yeah.
All right, because I hope you can handle this shit. All right. There was a time in your life, Jose, when you felt the most amazing, intense pleasure of your life. Now, that could be a physical sensation from certain experiences that are too private to mention. Could be the accomplishment of something awesome that you enjoyed. Whatever it is, not that one, the other one. What I want you to do is notice where in your body you feel it. What I want you to do is I want you to point to it. Physically point to it in your body.
My body?
Yeah, just point to where you feel it. Good. Now look at it with your inner eyes. Now as you think about it, as you look at it with your inner eyes, I want you to notice there's a color associated with that feeling. What's the color? First impression?
Purple.
Purple. Good. Take both of your hands, reach in and grab all of that purple energy. Take it out. Take it out of your body, hold it in your hands. Make sure it's all in your hands, because sometimes that shit hides. Is it all in your hands?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
first impression, did the color change or stay the same?
Change a little bit.
Okay. Is it brighter or darker or what?
Darker.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. As you look at it, I want you to notice it's moving in a certain direction. What's the direction? First impression.
Oh, this way.
Good. Take it in both your hands like you grab it in between your hands and double the rotation, double the movement, double the amplitude, and double it again. And keep doubling it, and double it over and over and over again until it takes on a life of its own, until it's impossible for it to go back the way it was. And when it's so strong you can barely tolerate it, or even better, when you know you've got it, slam it back into that spot. Notice the change. Yeah. Notice it only gets better. And the more you think it, yeah, that's right. Now open your eyes and look at the world from that pleasure. How's that? Give him a big round of applause. I'm lazy, and I like shit that happens fast. Now, I'm going to tell you something. That one technique has reversed to size and tumors in just as fast. I've used this on a cancer patient. It was a whim. Did this to him. Took about the same amount of time, give or take. He emailed me about a week and a half later. His test results came back. His tumor had shrunk by 50%.
So you had to take the tumor out and just bring it in?
No, when you're doing this stuff for physical illness, you never deal with the manifestation.
So you worked with the emotion?
There's a tumor, and there's a feeling of the tumor, but there's a reason the tumor's there, and there's a feeling connected to that reason. Point to where you feel it. If you're working with the tumor, you're working too late in the process. Okay? In Chinese medicine, we call that root and branch, stem and branch. Okay? We have to go back as far into the process as we can, because that's where we have the most leverage. Okay? Now, I could spend hours. I did a whole video on that technique. If you guys are interested in it, I'll show you. I'll tell you how to get it. But it's very, very simple what we just did. I mean, I could spend 2 days unpacking it. What we did in 2 minutes, everything that happened. but it's real, it's verifiable, and you can do it really, really quick. Whatever the feeling is you want to amplify, close your eyes. If you want to do an NLP style approach, reach out and touch the picture. Right? Reach out, touch the picture. You know how to do that, right? Ooh, where do I feel it? Ooh, it's right here. It's right here. Oh, it's right here. Yeah, that's right. Now focus all of your attention on that spot. Use your inner senses. Use your inner eyes. Notice the color associated with that feeling. Reach in with both, physically reach in with both of your hands. Take all of that energy out and with your inner eyes look at it. And notice if the color changes or stays the same. Now, I'm going to give you a clue. Whether it changes or stays the same, doesn't matter. Okay? On one level it matters a lot. On one level it completely does not. That's all you need to know for right now. Okay? Did it change or stay the same? As you look at it, notice it's moving a certain way. It could be this way, or some weird amalgamation. It doesn't matter. There's a way that it's moving, and there's a way that you can tell that you know how it's moving. Whatever it is, physically, take it in both of your hands and turn it so it's the opposite of what it was. Now double the spin. Double it again. Keep doubling it until it's impossible for it to go back the way it was. And when you know it's impossible for it to go back the way it was, backing. Notice the change. Notice it's gone. Okay? That's how you eliminate stuff. What I did with Jose, right? What I did with Jose, he was doing pleasure really, really well. Right? So did I need to make it the opposite? That's how his nervous system codes pleasure? Okay. If this is good, that's better. If that's better, this is even better. And you keep doing it until it's as good as you can stand it. And when you know it's as good as you can stand it, and only when you know it's as good as you can stand it, slant it back in. Notice the change. Notice it's gone. You got that look of lust in your eyes. Come here. No, I picked on you already. Come here, Jeff. Oh, Barbara, you look so sad. You're all going to get to do this. Is there some, I will just do, by the way, here's another reason why I'm doing the pleasure thing first. How many people here have ever heard of a substance called oxytocin? Okay. If you haven't, you really need to do more studies or do some homework. If you want to change behavior, if you want to change beliefs, if you want to change your neurology, the fastest, most efficient way to do it is a massive, consistent dump of oxytocin into your system. You have this process, or this phenomena neuroscientists like to call neuroplasticity. It's the ease and speed at which your brain creates new neurological connections. So think about your brain like this big chicken wire or wire mesh. And like wire, when it gets hot, it gets soft and it gets malleable, right? When enough oxytocin enters the system, the wire softens. It becomes extremely, extremely changeable. Which means any suggestions or ideas you give in that state are more readily imprinted, and as the oxytocin normalizes, it locks in. Okay? This is not hypnosis per se. It's not even NLP per se. It's another one of Richard Bandler's creations called neurohypnotic repatterning.
Yeah, I have a question. I have a patient that's severely OCD. I mean, scary. I mean, I really have no business working with her, but she thinks I'm God, so she keeps coming back. Taking this technique, how would I change it? I mean, she's going into one of her OCD things and she goes over and over and over and over and over it for days on end.
Right.
Do you take, what's the feeling? The fear?
There's a feeling that you get right before you know you're about to have an episode. Because you know when you're about to have an episode, don't you?
Okay.
There's a feeling you get in your body just before that happens. Point to where you feel it. First impression.
So ask her to do that.
Now, here's the secret to this. Now, I'm giving you one level of this technique. I told you I'm an energy healer. Okay? One of the things that happens when two people connect is there's this massive exchange of information neurologically, but below the threshold of conscious awareness. It's not energy in the sense of there's this glowing aura around you and I'm going to manipulate it. Think of it more like Wi-Fi. Thousands and thousands of little electromagnetic ones and zeros floating around, all carrying tons of information that's being interpreted by his spinal cord and mine, either through proximity, even through proximity, or through touch. Okay? Now we have, in my conversational hypnosis classes that are coming up, we have a very specific set of drills to unlock the ability to transmit emotions back and forth. But it's not metaphysics, it's neurology. It's how your system works. You guys know what mirror neurons are, right? If you haven't, look them up. Because between your mirror neurons and your proprioceptive nervous system, you have everything you need to create what people call psychic abilities. But they're not psychic, they're natural. They're not metaphysics. They're just another level of how your nervous system works. And if you understand, like for instance, Jeff is here, he's minding his own business, right? And if I pull on Jeff, he kind of, just don't go anywhere if you don't have to. If I pull on Jeff, right, he's kind of, you know, he's got a little bit of resistance, right? But if I connect to Jeff's nervous system, I step Jeff steps. If I bend my knees, Jeff's knees bend. But if I pull on him, it's nothing. But if I understand connection, not magic. You just got to know how the system works. So when I'm guiding, weird, huh?
Yeah.
Right? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But it's something you can demonstrate. And it's not magic, it's something every single one of you can do. I promise you. Why? Because you're a human being with a pulse and a nervous system. Okay? Now, so when I'm doing all of these words and these instructions, what was I doing? When I was guiding Jose through that process, what was I doing? Was I looking around the room? I was completely focused and absorbed in what was going on. Why? Because our nervous systems are communicating. If I'm absorbed, he has to be. But because I'm absorbed and he's absorbed and we're all focused on the same thing, I'm sending all of my juice, all of my emotional energies, all of my system resources flooding through his nervous system. I'm increasing the amplitude of the signal that I'm sending through his nervous system. NLP, hypnosis, anybody who talks about rapport, anybody who's been in sales training, they talk about rapport this and rapport that. Rapport gets you what we call frequency. It gets you tuned into this person's wavelength. But what if your signal strength is only a 0.5? That means if rapport is a two-way communication, and I'm on the same wavelength, and his signal strength, the push behind his emotions, is a 5, and mine's a 3, guess who wins? Exactly. So part of what we do is getting that connection with people. But we have to make sure that we have our resources and our skill sets targeted in such a way that it amplifies and moves things in the right direction. That's how you create massive, powerful, positive change fast. Absorption, focus of attention. So is there something experience you've had that made you feel really good?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to feel it again? Or even better?
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe you. It's like, motherfucker. Right? Close your eyes. Now, I'm not going to ask you where it happened, who we were with, or how it happened, or anything like that. What goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. I want you to point to where you feel it. All right. It's right on. Now, look at it with your inner eyes. Notice there's a color associated with that feeling, Jeff. What's the color, first impression?
White.
Good. Reach it with both of your hands. Take all that white energy, take it out and hold it in your hands. Good. Now make sure it's all in your hands, because sometimes that shit hides. Is it all in your hands? Good. Did the color change or stay the same?
Darkened a little.
Okay, good. Now, and it's okay. If you want to make it brighter, you can. Whatever makes it best for you. Okay? Now, I want you to notice it's moving in a certain direction. What's the direction? First impression.
And a clockwise.
Perfect. Good. Excellent. Take it in both of your hands like you're holding the handles of a whatever, and I want you to double the spins. Double the amplitude. Double it again. Keep doubling it. Noticing it getting better and better. Make it stronger and stronger until it's impossible for it to go back the way it was. And when you got it, when you know it's the strongest you can tolerate and it's only going to get better, slam it back in. Whoosh. Notice the change. Notice it's gone. Notice it's better, actually. And the more you try to change it, it gets it stronger. Dude. Are you stoned, man?
I am gone. Dude, I don't know what that was, but do it again. Give me a round of applause.
Now, the reason we're bringing this up is because you can make massive change at a neurological level in yourself by inducing massive pleasure. I hesitate to tell you this because some of you, after you learn how to do this, will never leave your house.
Oh, need any windows in there? Oh, it's not.
But I can tell you from doing this kind of work and from firsthand experience, I have seen this reduce cancers. I have seen this reverse fluid in the pericardium, blockages in the intestines. I've seen this reverse herpes outbreaks. I've seen it reverse lifelong constipation. I've seen it reverse, there was one that was really important that I wanted to do. Oh, I've seen a variation of this bring back a sense of smell in someone who lost it when they were 5. Yes?
So you're using just pleasure today, but when you're talking to somebody that has any of these issues, you have them go to the area where they have the constipation or...
I could. Yeah. It really, a lot of it at this point depends on where I feel is going to be the shortest distance between 2 points. If I feel somebody just needs a lot more, I need to soften up the wiring, so to speak, I will induce a huge amount of oxytocin into the system. Oxytocin is released through any pleasurable experience, any pair bonding experience, and orgasm. I've seen spider phobias cured by 20 minutes of intense hedonically induced orgasm. Okay? Because the system becomes hyper-responsive and hyper-malleable. It becomes hyper-suggestible. Okay? Most of what we're taught in traditional hypnosis, traditional NLP, we find what's broken and we fix it. Well, there's another way. Okay? It's a parallel of NLP. Richard Bandler created 3 sets of technologies that are related to each other. The first was neuro-linguistic programming. The second was design human engineering. The third was neurohypnotic repatterning. The least known of all 3 is neurohypnotic repatterning. I discovered the oxytocin connection on my own through many years of field work. And then I found Richard's work, and it was like I was reading my shit, only with a lot more resources behind it. So it was very cool. But why am I bringing this up now? Because your system is a kinesthetic sensing system. It's going to look for and create the events that you want based on the feelings you're carrying around inside of you. It doesn't pull the experience per se into your life. It pulls in an experience that generates the same feeling as what you're carrying around. So doesn't it make sense, if that's how the system actually works, that we should have mastery over what feelings we're walking around with? Okay? If we can have that level of control and power, then we can attract anyone we want. Because I'm going to tell you right now, on a relationship level, do you like to hang around people who suck? Who make you feel like the 10th day of a 5-day deodorant pad? You know, see, I know, my gallows humor. But let's be honest, we all heard this term emotional vampire, right? But then there's those other people in our lives, right? The people that just being in the room with them makes our day better. Right? And we just find ourselves at weird times, intervals, doing and saying weird things just to get a few more minutes of their time or attention. Right? Why not be that person? And you can't induce those feelings in other people except to the degree that you can induce them in yourself. In my conversation hypnosis classes, my influence classes, and I teach the whole spectrum of human influence. That's my specialty. Okay, attraction is part of that. Your ability to move through the world and just making people feel good, people will just give you stuff. They'll just do it for you because it feels so freaking good. Okay? So let's review real quick what we've covered so far before I turn you loose on each other. This one is, you guys will have lots of fun with this. Clinically I've used this. This was downloaded to me. I mean, I was at a training with Jerry Kine many years ago, back in 2005, and it was during one of the breaks. And one of the ladies there, a young French girl, had this horrible, horrible migraine and backache and stuff. And I looked at her, and all of a sudden, zip file opened, and I just knew what to do. And it was gone instantly. And I've been testing it and using it ever since. I've started teaching my guys. And in my mastermind, which we have an ongoing mentorship group, which I'll tell you guys about if you guys are interested in that. Whether you have any hypnosis background or not, Drew is in it. What's his name back there? James and Chris is in it. They all are very active, and it's given them the tools and the skills to go where they want to go. Highly recommend that if you want to go deeper into this material. But I want to give you some stuff that you can take home and start putting to work right away. I've used this on migraines. I've used this over the internet. I mean, just to do things for people. Okay? Where was I going with this? I open loop myself, James. What was I talking about?
Reviewing.
Oh, yeah. So we talked about how everything you need to learn to take it. First and foremost, if you learn nothing from this class, you gotta get in the game. Right or wrong, do something. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be external. You understand? It doesn't have to be right. It just has to be moving. Because you can change as you go. The other thing is you must do the inner work so that you start to become the kind of person that is entitled to have the events you're trying to bring into your life. More of or less of. You have to be that person. To do that, you have to remove the anchors and pump up the rocket engine. But if all you did was remove the anchors, you'd take off. Because it's usually not the rocket engine that's the problem. It's the shit holding us back. The shit we know about, the shit we don't know about. I've given you a process. If something keeps happening, something keeps holding you back in a certain area, you have your stems. You find the structure of a sentence that most appropriately matches that. Keep digging until you get to the emotion. Ooh, emotion. Point to where you feel it. Notice what color it is. Reach in, take it out, and hold it. Notice what direction it's moving. Change it. Amplify it. And when you know it's changed forever, when you know it's impossible to go back the way it was, slam it back in and notice the change. I didn't say make the change. I said notice the change because it's already done. Does that make sense? And if you still need a little push, I must. I don't want. Make sense? This means yes. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of put this all together now. If there's something that you feel a little blocked with, you don't need to do this deep digging like you would with the stems. All you really need to do, notice where in your body you feel it. Take it out. Notice what direction it's moving, what color it is. And really get into it. Just like when you were a kid, You picked up the stick, then it's a gun. You pull out the energy ball, and now it's everything that needs to be changed for you to have what you want. When you know you've got it, when you know it's unstoppable, when you know it's impossible for it to go back the way it was and it only gets better. Now, the first few times you do this, I want you to find a partner, and I want you as the partner, you don't need to know what it is, but you do need to be absorbed in the experience with them. Because remember, what we're doing here is we're not just guiding them through an experience, we're giving them juice, we're giving them more focus, more absorption, more wattage, more of everything they want and need to lock that change in. Does that make sense? Then we're going to come back and we're going to show you how to take these feelings and put them in your future so that other than consciously, you're automatically drawn to those events, experiences, and situations that give you more of those feelings you know you want. You have a question? No? Yes? Once you've been through this enough times, it's very easy to do it yourself. Everything here can be done on your own. But I recommend you only begin doing this work on your own until after you've mastered doing this process both as the subject and as the guide with somebody else. Because to do this yourself, you have to immerse yourself in the process. Can't be a part of you on the outside wondering if you're doing it right. Does that make sense? To the degree that you have absorption, you have change. Does that make sense? And by the way, you are all doing deep level hypnosis. I like master level hypnosis. Okay? In traditional hypnosis, I have this thing called the Aaron's depth scale. And when you get to like level 5 or somnambulism, you have two categories by which people tell if you're in deep hypnosis. One is called positive hallucination. The other is called negative hallucination. I'm going to keep that loop open until we're done, and I'm going to tell you how it all fits. Okay? Hallucination is not what you think. All right. Let's take another 15 minutes to do this, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to install things in your future for you, and then I'm going to tell you about some things we got coming up, and then I'm going to turn you loose to make your world exactly what you want it to be. You guys have fun with this so far? Good. Go play.